And listen, everybody, Rich, wants to point at Jerry Jones.
Right.
And I get it, right? I get it. We want to point at Jerry Jones. He hasn't made a move. Devontae Adams goes to the Jets today. Amari Cooper goes to Buffalo. We still ain't made a move yet. That part is on Jerry Jones. But what we cannot do, we cannot look at the owner of this football team and say, Rich, he missed 0 tackles. He threw 0 interceptions. He dropped 0 passes. And he gave 100% effort in the booth. You can't blame that on Jerry Jones. You can't blame that on Mike McCarthy. You can't blame that on Mike Zimmer. This comes down to multi-millionaires not giving me effort Sunday in and Sunday out, period. Yes, I'm going to give Jerry Jones some flack where it's deserved, and that's on the roster, right? Those are where that's the part that Jerry Jones. Mike McCarthy is calling. I mean, we're driving the ball. It's not like this team just all of a sudden can't play offense. They was one of the top offenses last year. Now all of a sudden everybody's like, Mike McCarthy don't know how to call games. What? Are you serious? That's not the now. Do I think they should fire Mike McCarthy? I called them to fire Mike McCarthy after last year when they got blown out in Green Bay. You got to do something to shake it up. But what you did was you let Dan Quinn walk and you brought Mike Zimmer in and you're giving up 40 plus points now to the Saints and to the freaking Lions. And you should have gave up that many versus the Ravens. They was kicking your butt too.
Yep.
So that's the problem I got, Rich, is there's no accountability on this roster. Stop showing me Micah Parsons on the sideline looking at the tablet. That's not helping us. Those 11 guys on the field not giving us any effort. And until they do, guess what? There's NFL teams that look at that film too, and they're like, the Cowboys is soft as Charmin tissue paper up front. We're going to run the football. And guess what? They got some tough teams because the Washington Commanders run the football. The San Francisco 49ers run the football. Even without Christian McCaffrey, they like running the football.
Jordan Mason.
I mean, it's ridiculous, Rich, if we could look up and this team could literally have 3, 4, maybe 5 wins on the season.
And that was not what we was looking forward to coming into the season at all. The Cowboys struggling with wins, struggling at home, struggling. I mean, they are playing pretty good on the road as far as W's. I mean, the games has been looking ugly, but a win is a win, and we get W's on the road. We lose at home, which is kind of strange. Losing at home is strange. So it definitely was not something that I look forward to at all this season. But yesterday I was watching that game. Sunday I was watching that game, feeling all discombobulated. Didn't know what I was watching, and I had defended the Cowboys in the post earlier before the game. So I'm sitting there watching, and I was like, man, I feel like an idiot. I feel like a clown up here defending the Dallas Cowboys, and they come out and just embarrass the fan base just like this. And we wasn't even sitting in the stands. We at home watching. So I can only imagine the people that paid $300-$400 for a ticket sitting there watching their team get blown out by 20, 30 points, almost 50 points on their head at home in a game that they probably should have been a lot more competitive in, at least at the worst, been able to be competitive and almost maybe put it out at the end. Like you said, for me, that very first interception, you got to give a lot of credit to that Lions DB because he definitely made an adjustment and played on the ball very, very well. Dak Prescott just lofted up there to see. I don't even think Dak Prescott really looked. I think he just threw it to the spot. And normally CD is there for the wide open touchdown, but Dak, you got to look, bro. But that DB definitely floated down and then floated back up and got an interception. So either he watched a lot of tape, which I'm sure he did, but he made a great play on the ball. And like you said, Rico should have came down.
Listen, I played corner in college, in high school and college. Mm-hmm. That corner did exactly what he was supposed to do. Yep. He has flat responsibility. So he has 10 yards deep to the line of scrimmage. That's his spot. That's his responsibility, right? So his eyeballs is watching that zone. When that running back, when Rico Dowdle ran that flat route, so flat, I mean, he was basically at the line of scrimmage running that route. As a DB, as a corner, you're taught now, let me get depth and I'll play everything underneath that's going up top to help my safety trying to come over the top. Because truly what would happen is that safety is in the middle of the field. CeeDee Lamb is wide open for a touchdown.
Right.
There is 100. Listen, I don't care what Dak says. He did not see the corner. He is trusting, and this is the part about being a quarterback in the NFL. He is trusting Rico Dowdle to hold that corner. He's not even seeing that because all he's doing is he's watching that safety and CeeDee Lamb. And once he sees CeeDee breaking, he's open, he's throwing that football. Now, should he have thrown it on a rope? Maybe, but he's trying to get it up over the linebacker's head into the corner of the end zone. So I understand the loft. But what I don't understand is Rico and CeeDee not playing that play. And listen, in the NFL versus good teams, you can't make those mistakes.
Right.
Because that took 7 points off the board, and then the Lions drove right down, and that's a 14-point swing because the Lions scored a touchdown on that drive. So instead of it being 10-7, it's now 14-3. And you put yourself in a bad situation. And so that's the part, those are the things that, like, we can fix those things, right? Okay, it's a bad play. The other pick Dak threw is just Dak being just overthrowing the football, just bad throw.
Right.
So, but your $60 million quarterback can't throw for 178 yards. He can't. He just can't.
Yeah. Has he gone over what? I guess maybe in the first game against the Browns, but it seems like he's been struggling to get over.
He played horrible
200.
versus the Browns.
Okay. Has he been
But
over
the
200?
defense balled out. See, there's the difference. Like, we have yet to see the Dak Prescott of last year. Now, what was funny is in that broadcast, I don't know if a lot of people caught it, but Tom Brady is like, he's watching this game. He's like, none of the Cowboy receivers are getting open. Right. Dak is throwing into these tight windows because nobody is open. The Lions did exactly what a lot of teams did. We're going to take 88 away. CD is done. I'm sorry. You're not throwing to CeeDee Lamb. Beat us with somebody else.
Where's your others?
Where's Jalen Tolbert?
Yeah, where's your others? He did make a
Where's
good catch.
Where's the others?
But we need the others.
He does well in spots, but he drops a wide open pass where the DB doesn't play it well. He should have caught it. The sun might have been in his eyes. I don't know. But Jake Ferguson he disappeared. I don't know where Jake was. Herpin caught 4 passes for 24 yards. He wasn't a part of the offense. You had no run game. Rico Dowdle has 5 carries. Zeke has 8. Rico 5 for 25. Zeke had 8 carries for like 16, 17 yards.
Right.
You can't win football games if you can't run the football in the NFL. Where is this run game? They're not. And then once the Cowboys got down by 3 scores, the run game is done. Now you're just dropping back, throwing the football, trying to get guys open. And there's just no consistency on this offense. And then the red zone problems they got are glaring to me. Like, inside the 20-yard line is where teams beat down opponents. And the Cowboys are not able to do that. They get to the 20-yard line, and it seems like it just becomes in this offense more congested, and like they don't have anything drawn up to get guys open to get the ball in the end zone. And because you don't have a run game, teams understand we're just going to put 4 in the line. We're going to put 7 guys in coverage, and we're going to say beat us because our front 4 is beating your offensive line. It was so bad, Rich. Zach Martin had a horrible game. He looked horrible. Terrence Steele, I don't know what he's doing. Cooper Beebe was probably the best offensive lineman we had. Tyler didn't play too bad. TJ Bass didn't play too bad, but there's no consistency in that front 5. There's no run game. We have no consistency at running back. You can't give a running back 5 carries and then expect him to have some kind of, rhythm in the football game. And then you brought Zeke in, and I love Zeke, but dang it, the stupid pouting on the sidelines. It's like you don't want to be there. It's like Zeke is at work, working his 9 to 5, and he is watching the clock, hoping the boss says you can go home early today, Zeke. Right. You've done enough. Like, it's terrible. I just don't get it, man.
The chemistry, the players' body language on the field when they get down.
Oh, it's bad.
But Dak Prescott, he has to be able to keep this team competitive. I mean, like you mentioned, $60 million, the highest quarterback in the league. Every time he loses, they're going to continue to bring that up. And for me, being paid that much, bro, you got to stop making mistakes like that in the red zone. Like, bro, you got to get 7 points. No more going down, getting the ball first, going down the field, get into the 20, and you throw a pick or you miss a read, bro, you're getting paid $240 million, $60 million, the highest paid quarterback in the league. You don't see anybody else doing that. Okay? You don't see Trevor Lawrence out there making no mistakes. You don't see Jaden Daniels, bro. Like, you've been in the league long enough to where you should be able to make a good
Yeah.
read in the red zone and not have to go down there and throw a pick or the drive stall. I'm so sick of seeing drives being stalled by Dak Prescott or just the offense in general.
Or with penalties.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. This
come
team
on.
is so undisciplined with the flags. It's a drive killer when you're driving down the field and then you get a holding call or you get a false start or you get a legal motion. Well, I mean, this is so frustrating. And like, we have been such Dak supporters on this podcast
Right.
about he earned the $60 million. He's the highest paid player ever in the NFL. Great. He earned all that stuff. I need to see the leader in Dak Prescott on the sideline getting that team. Listen, here's one thing about Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman wasn't going out and throwing for 5,000 yards. But I promise you one thing, he demanded respect in that huddle and on that sideline when his team wasn't playing well or things were going bad. He had those guys laser focused. That's what I need to see from Dak Prescott. I need you to rally this offensive football team and let this offensive football team say, we not making these mistakes. Stop holding, stop jumping off sides, stop doing stupid stuff. You're hurting our offense. Wide receivers, you got to catch the football with your hands. We got to find a way to get guys open with a scheme, with some kind of motion, something.
Right.
I got to see that leader in number 4. And I know he's got it because we've seen it before. I don't know what it is. It feels, I don't know, Rich, you tell me, doesn't it feel like this team has just beat themselves before the game even starts?
Yeah,
like, I just don't see that energy anymore.
Every game they come out and just beat themselves. On the first drive, when they come out and stall, the second drive, they seem so defeated. If they don't come out and get 7 points in their first drive, after that, it's pretty much downhill for the Dallas Cowboys. They just seem so defeated. And I know, like, people love to bring up Tony Romo, and everybody like to compare Tony and Dak Prescott. I mean, the only thing that you can really compare them to is that they both got bad defenses, right? However, Tony Romo still kept the Cowboys pretty competitive, even with that bad defense that he did have. So I kind of was expecting maybe Dak to do something like that. He got to step up. Every week we get on here and say Dak Prescott has to step up. Obviously, we don't like him throwing 50 times a game, but, bro, you definitely got to get over 200 yards passing as the highest paid quarterback in the league. I don't see why you still struggling to get past 150. I mean, come on, man. Like, maybe I'm a big gambler, so I'll be betting on Dak Prescott to throw over 200 yards, and he has yet to win me a ticket based off that, and I'm so disappointed in that. I was like, bro, come on. We know you got to pass. We ain't got no run game, so you got to pass. But you struggling to get over 150, 178. I mean, I expect a little bit more from a highest paid quarterback in the league. I don't expect you to be making the mistakes that you do. You don't see Patrick Mahomes out there, and you had very similar stats to Patrick Mahomes last season. So if you took away the names and just put the stats up there, you wouldn't know that it was Dak Prescott. You'd be like, oh, that person's good. But you throw Dak Prescott up there. I mean, obviously he's under a lot of pressure, but I'm tired of hearing you say after games, you got to play better. I don't want to hear that no more from you, Dak Prescott. You just said that like 2-3 times this season, and we only, 6 games in? I'm tired of hearing that, bro. Stop saying that after press
conferences. That can't be the narrative anymore, right? It can't be the narrative every week, right? I got to play better. This is on me. Stop. Right. What are you guys doing during the week, Monday through Saturday, as you're preparing for these football games? There's something has to change in this culture, in this locker room, in this organization. It's got to change quickly, right? You bring up other teams, the Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, right? Now, do they got talented players? Sure. Travis Kelce is talented, sure. Mm-hmm. But name me another wide receiver for the Chiefs that you would take over CeeDee Lamb. There isn't one. This is what I'm talking about. There's teams that have an edge, that have some kind of attitude, like the Baltimore Ravens, like the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers. Add the Lions to that group, right? They got an attitude. Like, they were smash mouth from the jump, and they just pounded on the Dallas Cowboys, and it was like the Cowboys just never could recover. Right? It felt like they was always on their heels, and it was always like counter punching. But then they just stopped punching, and they just clinched up and got in the fetal position and let the Lions just kept kicking them in the head. That's the part that's the most frustrating to me. Is it feels like the culture of the Dallas Cowboys is defeated. And when you have that in the NFL, you are not going to be successful. And we can talk about X's and O's all you want, but if you have already beat yourself in your head before the game is even finished, you are not going to beat the good teams in the NFL. You're going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers because they're not very good. Right. Okay, though, that doesn't impress me. You're going to beat the New York Giants. They're not a good football team. But you aren't going to beat the Ravens, the Chiefs, the 49ers, the Lions. And if you look right now in that NFC East division, you're not going to beat the Commanders or the Eagles with this kind of mentality. So, again, they got a bye week this week, Rich. What happens in the bye week? Y'all better not go on vacation. I don't want to see no pictures on social media. Y'all in Cancun, y'all on the boat, y'all golfing. Y'all better be in that locker room at the Star, in that film room, in those meeting rooms. Y'all better get back to work because y'all is 3-3 and doesn't look like y'all are a good enough team to make the playoffs. Y'all better figure something out.
Right.
And it's not we need to get away and no, y'all don't need to relax. Name another, Rich. If you went to work and you only did 50% of the work, how long would your work keep you?
It wouldn't keep me long. And you bring up a good point. To me, 0-3 at home, getting 40, 50 points dropped on your head, just the team just don't look like it's disciplined. To me, it's all fireable offenses. Going into the bye week, I don't understand why nobody ain't losing their job. I get it. You ain't ever fired nobody during the midseason, but, bro, look at it. Again, 0-3 at home.
Take it up.
Dropping 40, 50 points on your head on your birthday. Team looked like a mess. Bro, admit you made a mistake and you got to correct it mid-season. You're going into the bye. Now's the perfect time to do it. You're 3-3. You're not out of it yet, but you about to be if you lose these next 2 games coming off the bye. You cannot be 3-5. You can barely be 3-4. So make the change now. Get somebody else in there. And show the fans. If anything, Jerry Jones, you owe us fans. Okay? To put a better product out there because it's clear you made a mistake in the offseason by not really signing anybody and bringing in you like our guys. That was a huge mistake. You kind of fooled me a little bit with it when week 1, week 2, or whatever. I was kind of be like, all right, we didn't really need nobody. The team to go, all right, but I was wrong. You was wrong, Jerry. Fire somebody, bro. Fired Willie Allen, was it the Jets owner? He fired somebody mid-season. I mean, come on, Jerry, do the right thing. Fire Mike McCarthy.
And it's all right. It's all right. It's all right if you don't want to fire Mike McCarthy. Don't fire Mike McCarthy. Fire that dude that's giving up 40+ points in the game on defense. Do something.
Right. It's
do
a fireable
something.
Offense. It's a fireable offense. No way you can go and do a bad job and they keep you. Because they don't want to fire. Oh, it's October. We don't fire nobody till January. No, they would fire you right away if you didn't do your job. Or if you half-ass your job. Or if you embarrass the company that you work for.
Facts.
These players out here embarrassing the fan base, embarrassing the Cowboy brand, Jerry. And it probably is having something to do with the coaches. So you got to get rid of the coach. You got to fire somebody, bro. Fire Mike Zimmerman. Fire Mike. One of the Mikes got to go.
Yeah. Rich, you and I have been Cowboy fans for a long time, right? We're not spring chickens anymore. We've been through a lot, right? We've seen Super Bowl championships. We've been through the 5-11 seasons, the 8-8s. We've been through those. I don't remember it being this bad. Like when we were 5-11, I expected us to be 5, and we weren't a good football team. Some of those Tony Romo early years, they were not a good football. They didn't have anything on offense, defense. When they were 8-8, that's who the Cowboys were. We expected those things. we have higher expectations for the Cowboys. You went and paid CeeDee Lamb all this money. You paid Dak Prescott all this money. In the offseason, when you lost to the Green Bay Packers, you came out as Jerry Jones and said, we are all in this offseason. And as Cowboy fans, we jumped on that bandwagon quickly, right? And we have defended this organization for a very long time. Listen, it is a full-time job as a Cowboy fan to beat off the haters of the bandwagon every single week. And it's becoming more and more difficult. The bandwagon for the Cowboys is getting a little light. There's a lot of people jumping off of the bandwagon, and I don't think I've ever seen fire Jerry Jones more on social media than I have this year.
Correct. And
now you can't fire him because he's the owner,
right?
But something has to happen because this is the most dollar-wise most successful franchise. But it's going to take a turn if they keep playing like this, and it's not going to be pretty.
Right. And if you look at the Cowboys, even like over the years, and I know a lot of people say that the fan base is kind of delusional, but if you really truly look at the Cowboys have been very talented for years. Our Super Bowl window has kind of been open for years, like at least 5 to 6, 7 years. They just haven't executed and put the wins together. But on paper and even on the field, the Cowboys have been talented for just as long as the Kansas City Chiefs been good. Like they had Dak Prescott. They had when Dak Prescott came in 13-3 that season. They've been good ever since. They had the Amari Cooper year where I think they had a bye in the playoffs and they came out and lost that game. The Cowboys, believe it or not, haters, believe it or not, Cowboy doubters, or even Cowboy fans, this team has been primed to win the Super Bowl for years. Obviously, they haven't executed. Of course, we see that. But on paper, they've been talented. They've been one of the most talented teams in the league for years. If you look at the record, look at some useless stats, the Cowboys have won more in the regular season than any other franchise so far in the last couple of years. Obviously, he ain't had no playoff success, but hey, the stat is a stat. And on paper, the Cowboys Super Bowl window has been open for at least the last 6 or 7 years. Going into this year, you can kind of say the window is open until you really found out the result of them being the way they are this season. But going into this season, they should have been a Super Bowl contender.
Absolutely. They still have a talented roster.
Right.
I mean, you have one of the top listen, regardless what you think about Dak Prescott, if he wasn't on the Dallas Cowboys and he was putting these numbers up in Tennessee, in Carolina, there would be reports all over the place of how great Dak Prescott is. But because he plays for the Cowboys, he's going to get a lot of hate. You got a top quarterback, top wide receiver. Your tight end is filthy. You got one of the best young offensive lines in the NFL. You got Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence. You got Demarion Overshown. You have DeRon Bland. You have Trayvon. You have a talented roster. Mm-hmm. It is time for this team to turn the corner and do one of two things. Either give up and let us know you gave up and you're just going to tank it and we're going to worry about next season, or something has to happen to spark this team. Because, Rich, it's not going to get any easier.
No.
They got the 49ers coming out the bye week in 2 weeks. What you think the 49ers want to do to the Cowboys?
Yes.
You still got 2 games versus the Eagles, 2 games versus the Commanders. Yes. I mean, this is not like going to be a cakewalk season. It's going to be tough. Right. And I'm being dead serious. It may be a 5-win season, Cowboys. They may be 5-12. Ooh. And I can't imagine this roster being 5-12.
Not at all. Like I say, been talented for years. No matter how you put it out there, the Cowboys have been talented for years, and our Super Bowl window is it's closing real fast. But it's been open for quite some time now, and we're gonna be stuck with Dak Prescott, and we're gonna be stuck with CeeDee Lamb for the next 4 years. So this may be the next 4 years, or maybe like the next 2.5 at least. I mean, I imagine they're gonna figure it out and probably either do a rebuild or they're gonna be real good, but. This is what the Dallas Cowboys is. Dak Prescott got all the money. CD got all the money. Micah's going to get some money. So this is what we stuck with, Cowboy Nation. That's just what we stuck with. Unless we can we Can we fully release Dak Prescott and just move on from him? Can we do like the Denver
Nah,
Broncos or something?
the amount of dead cap space, cap money, he would kill us for the next 10
At this
years.
point, I might be willing to take it based on what I saw yesterday.
But see, there's the problem, Rich. You see a Devontae Adams goes for a 4th-round pick.
Yes.
Amari Cooper goes for a 3rd-round pick. 2 wide receivers you bring into this offense that instantly makes you better because you now can't double CD because you can't double and leave Amari Cooper one-on-one.
Right.
You can't leave Devontae Adams one-on-one. And then when Brandon Cooks comes back and he's your 3rd wide receiver, this is the things I'm talking about. Like, why aren't the Cowboys making those phone calls?
Right. Why isn't Jerry giving up those picks like that? What is he holding on to those picks
What
for?
are the picks going to do for you? As a Cowboy fan, I would easily say sacrifice a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick. Sacrifice a 2nd-round pick and go get something to help this team out.
Facts.
But now, listen, the big thing now is they've got to do something to make some kind of move. They got to get some help on his defense side of the football. Either Deron Bland's got to come back or you got to go find some help in his secondary, and you got to go find a linebacker that can come here and tackle.
Right.
A defensive line, something to help this defense. Something's got to happen. Hopefully Micah's back for the 49er game. Hopefully we get DeMarcus Lawrence back. Kendricks hopefully will be back. Hopefully get Deron Black. Maybe with some time and some health, we can get this defense back playing again. We get Brandon Cooks back here off of IR here in a couple weeks. Something has to happen. They've got to do something to improve some kind of playmaker on this team. And you had 2 of them available with Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper, and both of those guys go to teams. Buffalo just won a football game versus the Jets. They just now improved they gave Josh Allen a weapon in Amari Cooper. You give Aaron Rodgers a weapon in his best friend in Devontae Adams. Where is this is the part, Jerry Jones, where you were screaming all in. This is your turn. Right? Stop going on the radio show and talking about firing the radio host because they are asking the tough questions that all of Cowboy Nation is wanting them to ask you. Right. This is the part where you bunker down in your office and you get your head coach in the office and you say, okay, let's start making phone calls to teams and see who's available to help this team out.
Right. And there is can we not go out and find some more disgruntled players out there? I'm pretty sure there's plenty out there that's playing on either a bad team or just wants to move to a different situation. Hassan Reddick, they
still ain't played.
I know they gave him permission to seek a trade. Jerry, why don't you get that man a call? But if you're all in Jerry Jones, I don't see why you holding on to draft picks, bro. Like, if all it took was to get Devontae Adams was a 3rd-round pick, give it up. That's all you want. Here, take it. Here, take this 7th-round pick. Okay. If all they took to get Cooper back was a 4th-round pick, what are you? I can't even remember who we drafted in the 3rd or 4th round. So I can only imagine who we're going to select this year and why we even holding on to that pick. But Jerry got to do something. I'm not going to hold my breath. I don't think he's going to do anything. He ain't going to fire nobody. He ain't going to pick up the phone and make a trade. He's just going to sit there and be like, oh, I like my guys. I like my players. I like my coaches. I can't see myself firing nobody or not paying anybody. That's Jerry Jones, everybody. That's the Dallas Cowboys.
Go Mavs.
Yeah, you're definitely into full NBA season. And it's just
shout out my guy
Luka, Kyrie, and then you also got a new weapon in Klay Thompson. I like the Mavericks. I like them until they play the Orlando Magic, and we all know what happens with the Magic and the Mavericks, okay?
That's right. We always win.
Off.
He does. That's true. Pablo usually has a really good game versus us. Franz usually has a really good game versus us. But the others for the Magic never show up versus the Mavs, and we usually win those ball games because nobody else knows how to play basketball except Pablo and Franz. But
and you know what?
I expect. Listen, the Magic are going to be a good basketball team. They added a couple pieces. Pablo's just going to get even better. He understands the game of basketball. I really like the Magic. They got a really good team. And they're in a tough Eastern Conference. We'll see what they do, but I really like my Mavs. I've been a Mavs fan since I was a little kid, back when they had Kidd and Mashburn and Jackson, Sean Bradley days. So looking forward to the NBA season. And now since the Cowboys is tanking, I can focus on the basketball season even earlier.
Yeah, and one thing about my Magic, they give me.
I will be back. After the bye week, when we come back after the 49er game for the next silver and blue huddle,
Right.
I will be back in Cowboy blue because I'm a ride or die with this Dallas Cowboy team, no matter how bad they play. But they got to stop making us look bad as fans because it's getting hard to defend this team.
I mean, I may just have to continue to come up in this clown suit until the Dallas Cowboys actually prove otherwise, and I can actually sit and stand and watch the game as a fan and be a proud Cowboy fan watching the game and not feel like a clown. Because that's exactly how I felt yesterday watching the Dallas Cowboys get dismantled by the Detroit Lions, they're a decent team. I don't think they're better than the Cowboys. Obviously, they just executed a lot better on Sunday, but I still think the Cowboys are a little bit more talented. I think Jared Goff is their weakness. And if you're able to get to him, which we didn't, then that's what happens. So, but the Orlando Magic kind of gives me vibes of the Dallas Cowboys as well because they continue to say they like they guys as well, and they bring back the same team year after year after year. Jonathan Isaac, I don't know how he's still on the team. They signed Gary Harris, who couldn't even hit anything in the playoffs. And then you have all these other great NBA players that's available, and you don't even go out and get them. What are you saving your cap space money for, bro? The last time the Orlando Magic probably signed a very good free agent was what? I don't know, Tracy McGrady? It's been a while. So we got money, Eds. We got money. What are we saving the money for?
It's got to be rough. Just straight from the Cowboys with not helping their roster, straight to the Magic. Just full of teams where they love the guys in the building.
I'm starting to think the Orlando Magic.
Jerry Jones has always been like that.
Yeah.
Right? He's always been like that. He's always liked the guys in his team. But you remember the Cowboys had a chance to land Randy Moss, and they decided not to do that. Jerry Jones has never been like that guy that's like, we got to go get the flash. Now, he went and got Terrell Owens when that debacle happened. And when T.O. first came to the Cowboys, he was a monster. Him and Tony Romo were a great duo. But Jerry Jones has never been that guy to make the big flash, fire a coach, hire somebody, go after a big free agent. He's just not that type of owner, and he needs to be. Somebody in that inner circle needs to grab Jerry Jones around his collar and say, let me talk to you real quick. We got to do something to bring this team together. And I'll take the Mavs as a perfect example. Last year, the Mavs liked their roster. But halfway through the season, they said, you know what, we got to do something to shake this up. And they go get P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford, and it turned a switch in the Mavericks. They instantly became a better basketball team and started on a win streak and catapulted themselves to an NBA Finals. Just making one little change in your roster, bringing that one guy in, can really make a big difference, especially you get Dak Prescott another weapon, a true running back. I don't know what it's going to take. But something has to change, Rich, and this is the perfect week to do it because you're on the bye. You got 14 days to make a move, get a guy in there, get him ready to go because you got a big, bad 49er team coming out to break.
And yes or no, do you see the Cowboys making a trade?
No.
Okay. Same here. I don't see them making a trade. Jerry likes his guys, and when he says that, he's going to stick with them, man. So this might be a lost season, unfortunately, even with the highest paid quarterback. Even with a rebuild, the highest paid quarterback normally is able to make something shake, a 8-8 or a 500. But in the weak NFC East division that we in, we only really have to win the division, but we can't continue to lose games. We got to win. That 49er game is critical, and then we got to face the Eagles, who are not looking all that good themselves. They barely beat a Browns team. They coach is on the hot seat. Nick Sirianni better not lose his job before Mike McCarthy does. Imagine that. Imagine that. But definitely the Cowboys have got some questions that need answers, man. Vacation is canceled. Everybody better be at the Star. When I ride,
right.
If I take a plane to Dallas and I ride by the Star, I better see the employee, the player lot full of cars.
That's right.
They better be in the film study doing something.
That's
right. Vacation is canceled. You
can't go on vacation 3-3.
Yeah,
you can't go on vacation when you're 3-3.
I mean, they're not out of it, but they gotta win these next two games. They can't be 3-5. Talking about we might be able to come. No. You lose against the 49ers. I don't want. If he loses against the 49ers, I don't know how he keeps his job. I don't. Because every week is somebody's Super Bowl against the Cowboys. They want to come out and put 50 on the Dallas Cowboys every time they take the field against the Cowboys. Them teams hate the Cowboys just that much because even when another team is having a successful season, they winning every single week, they having top performances from their players, they don't get their airtime because their media is still going to continue to talk about the Cowboys. Imagine you being the Baltimore Ravens, the Chiefs, winning the Super Bowl, and then the very next day, they're talking about, oh, what is the Cowboys' offseason moves going to be? They ain't even talking about your Super Bowl win. They're not even talking about your city. They're not talking about your fans. No matter what y'all team do, the Dallas Cowboys are still going to be the top of the news the very next day. But y'all claim we're not relevant. We're relevant every single day.
Facts.
But that's the Silver and Blue Huddle, man. Cowboys on the bye. We're going to come back next week. Actually, are we going to come back next week or are we going to take a bye too?
No, we on a bye week. We on vacation because we undefeated on here.
So we'll come back after the 49ers. So just give a real quick a 49er prediction, man. I don't know. I don't know. Can we tie them? Can there be a tie game? I say the Cowboys are going to end up in a tie.
Listen, I'm never going to root against my Cowboys because they're my Cowboys. 28-21 Cowboys win. They find a way.
I can only see that because they don't have CMC. I'm not a big fan of Brock Purdy. Deebo Samuel can kind of go missing a little bit. The defense is kind of shaky other than Fred Warner. I'm hoping the Dallas Cowboys can sneak out of there with a W. So I'm gonna stick with that. I can't give a score prediction. I'm just gonna say the Cowboys sneak out of there with a W. I don't know if that's with a little referee help. I don't know if that's just for like a little weather help or whatever. You know, Brandon Arby or whatever. But hey, the Cowboys are gonna win. I'm just gonna say I don't know how. Referees help us out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's been a while. But that's the Silver and Blue Huddle, guys. We are available on all streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you listen to your podcast. Silver and Blue Huddle will be there. I did make a little bit of a blunder at the start of the podcast where I didn't have us visually up. But 7 minutes in, I corrected that. And I didn't want to start the podcast over. But everything would be good, except for probably on YouTube because it's visual. So YouTube, you're going to catch it 7 minutes in. But everyone else will see it because it's not visual. But Richblkman, Expert Corner, so amazing to be back next week. Silver and Blue Huddle out. Peace out.